Now, Berlin-based Contentful, the API-driven content management developer platform, announced it has secured $16.8 million to help open up offices here in the U.S. Now, quote, traditional CMS like WordPress or Drupal have been designed to be great for desktop websites, but are not architected for other devices and platforms, said founder and CEO of Contentful, adding, we are alleviating those hurdles to make life easier for developers and more productive for companies. So Scott, what impact will Contentful have in the coming over to into the U.S. marketing space? Coming here, well, how's this going to happen?
Look, the time is right.
Okay.
First of all, I'm jealous. He started in 2014, and he's already, and they've already raised $17 million. But I think that the timing is right, because right now omnichannel is on everyone's minds.
Why are these guys getting so much attention? Is that because of the omnichannel?
I think that's it. I think it is the omnichannel thing. If you look at even Drupal, when you talk about Drupal a lot more, there's this notion of headless Drupal, which is coming out a lot, which is the idea that we're going to separate concerns again, which, I mean, there are folks like Dean Barker out there who just published a great book on web content management, by the way, plug for him. But who we've been talking about separation of concerns forever, content from presentation, but kind of in the last 7 years or so, these kind of fully baked systems became much more in the throes, and it became less about having this distribution notion. And now it's going back to where it was before, because of the idea of, just like they mentioned, with mobile, and you think about devices like this, right, where it's basically any glass you're trying to put up on. The idea of making content management easy before was, how can we allow the person who's adding the content to work in the environment that's going to look like what they ultimately are producing, right? Which makes a lot of sense when you're just producing content for the web. However, when it takes its different forms, that actually becomes a hindrance, because now you've created content in a way that it fits really well on a web page, but it doesn't do well elsewhere. So what they've done is tried to tap into that idea. And to be honest, many of the big vendors are trying to do the same thing now, is go back to that idea. I think, though, the challenge is developers typically are not the buyers.
Yeah.
And so even you hear these kind of true content managers and content strategists talking about headless, but they don't yet have the buy-in of the marketer who's in the room, who has to be at the demo, who doesn't yet realize, oh, wait a minute, that means I don't get preview? Because you wouldn't in an environment like this. So there are some real kind of bells and whistles that have sold and brought it to the forefront that can allow line of business to basically make the buying decisions and be the ones using the systems. This takes it back a step, so I'm not so sure how that will fare.
Okay, easy enough.